Hey everyone, Doug here with B&H. Today we're getting our first look at a new camcorder from Canon. This is the XF605, and it adds a lot of modern features to the venerable camcorder format. The compact body features a 15 times optical reach shooting at 4K, meaning it's ideal for ENG, sports videography, live event coverage, and even docu-style production, thanks to the look of a 1-inch CMOS sensor. This is one of the most capable camcorders I've seen in a while, with nearly every feature you want for professional video production. So let's take a look. At the heart of the XF605 is a 1-inch CMOS sensor that produces crisp UHD 4K images. The video was recorded in 10-bit 422 color, so you'll get gradable footage that can be delivered in broadcast spec. And with excellent low-light capability, dimly lit interiors won't be an issue. A 15 times zoom lens brings Canon's renowned L-lens optical lens quality that stills and mirrorless video shooters should be familiar with. I mentioned sports and events before, and it's the effective 25.5mm to 382.5mm zoom range that really makes this possible. Indeed, long zooms in a compact body is one of the greatest strengths of a traditional fixed lens camcorder, so if you're shooting that kind of content, the XF605 does the trick. Now, to get into some details, the XF605 supports a number of recording options. Top of the order is the more professionally oriented XF AVC recording format, which is of course H.264 based. This is available in both intra and long GOP formats, and in either mode you can record at 10-bit 422, in 1080p or UHD 4K up to 60 FPS. The camera can also record XF AVC proxy files at 420 8-bit for easier handling in post. If you need faster deliverables, however, or need to squeeze the most out of your storage space, recording to MP4 allows the XF605 to use the HEVC or H.265 codec, saving on bitrate. MP4 recording also lets you shoot in 422 10-bit, 420 10-bit, or H.264 420 8-bit. It's important to note that MP4 recording only shoots in long GOP, so you'll need to use XF AVC for intra recording. The XF605 can also shoot up to 120 FPS in 1080p, though this is exclusively for slow motion capture. The footage looks gorgeous, and it remains captured in 10-bit 422. In the opposite direction, there's also interval recording, allowing you to capture time-lapse footage with precision. Thanks to the Digic DV7 processor inside, the XF605 is able to process video data in multiple ways. As I said before, you can do simultaneous proxy recording, but you can also record that to multiple SD cards. The processor also aids in the camera's color science handling, log feature set, and custom picture options. You have several recording arrangements including 4K on one card, 2K on another, 4K 60p on one card and broadcast-ready 1080i on another, proxy recording on a secondary card, and even intra recording on one card, long GOP on the other. Speaking of processing, the color profile options on the XF605 are pretty surprising. Number one is support for Canon Log 3, which combines nicely with the 10-bit recording for an extensively gradable image. There's also both flavors of HDR support here, HLG for backwards compatible HDR production, and PQ, which is designed for HDR grading and post-production. Perhaps more interesting though is the inclusion of Cinema EOS color matrix settings. This allows you to better match the XF605 with Canon's Cinema EOS line, and it offers neutral, production, and video profiles to fit your needs. At first glance, the XF605 is quite small, which makes it impressive though in that it somehow manages to squeeze in a 15 times optical zoom with fully manual focus, zoom, and iris rings. The zoom range covers a 35mm equivalent range of 25.5mm to 382.5mm with a variable aperture of f2.8 to f4.5. So even when you're zoomed all the way in, you won't lose that much light. The lens, which borrows Canon's L-class optics, also features image stabilization in standard, dynamic, and powered modes. Now, when in HD, due to the extra sensor space, if you need a little extra reach, the camera can also zoom in to an effective 30 times in the advanced zoom mode. On a camcorder, good AF is not only expected, but it's pretty much essential to the type of content that's most often captured with them. Now, it's no surprise that Canon's dual-pixel autofocus is on board here, giving you fast and accurate autofocusing, but you can also touch to focus as well. Even better though, the XF605 is the first XF series camera to support Eye autofocus and EOS ITR AFX, which of course we first saw on the 1DX Mark III. This provides incredibly accurate head detection that locks on even when subjects are turned around. The XF605 packs a lot, both outside on the body and inside in terms of software and user interface. Let's take a look at the size first though. The XF605 is one of the smallest cameras in its class without sacrificing anything in terms of connectivity, lens control, physical dials, and overall ergonomics. More on that in a bit. From front to back, the camera is only 13.1 inches or 335 millimeters, while it's only 6.8 inches or 173 millimeters in height, making it more than 10% smaller than the XF705. It's also about 25% lighter than the 705 at 4.4 pounds or nearly 2,000 grams. Being a traditional video camera form factor, it's also easier to hold for sustained periods than a more complicated mirrorless camera rig. So cameras in this form factor are typically expected to have XLR audio support, and as you can see, that is no different here. Now, by default, the camera actually supports 4-channel audio. You have the 2 XLR ports, and you also have the built-in microphone here. But you also have an 1/8-inch microphone jack next to the XLR that can act as those other 2 channels. But you can also add 2 additional XLR connections through the multifunction shoe with an optional XLR adapter. Borrowed from Canon's EOS C70, the XF605 includes a fully touch-controlled menu system that gives easy access to all of the most important settings, while also presenting the camera configuration cleanly on the LCD. Instead of digging through menus to find a specific option, most of the main settings such as recording format, white balance, ISO, and monitoring tools can simply be tapped and adjusted. But beyond the main display, the entire full menu itself is also touch compatible, making menu decisions faster overall. And while we're talking about the LCD, I did say that it's touch enabled, but the camera itself also provides multiple view assist functions for it, including HDR and custom LUT previews. At 3.5 inches and 2.76 million dots in resolution, it's bright, colorful, and provides an accurate display of both SDR and HDR footage depending on your shooting mode. And as for the EVF, it's also sharp and clear with 1.77 million dots of resolution, and also has an HDR assist function to approximate the image. The good news here is that both the EVF and the LCD can be used at the same time. Moving along, the 12G SDI and HDMI connections can also be used at the same time, which is useful of course for production environments that need multiple monitors, and can provide clean 4K 10-bit 422 signals across either of them. Also, it's not 4K, but the XF605 can also operate as a webcam over its USB-C connection. So if you need an instant webcam or streaming video source, you're covered there too. Now, for shooters out in the field, one of the most exciting features in the XF605 is probably its integration with Canon's upcoming Content Transfer mobile app. Connect the camera over either USB or Wi-Fi to your iPhone, and you can transfer clips to your phone for preview or upload. You can also edit clip metadata on your phone and save that to the camera's recordings. Lastly, as a camera with broadcast production in mind, the XF605 also supports a few of Canon's remote control interfaces. The RCV100 can be used to remotely control the main exposure and lens operations, along with some color shading options. The RCIP100, which is Canon's multi-camera controller, can also control the XF605 over RS422 using the NU protocol. The XF605 is an impressively equipped 4K camera that brings almost everything to the table. You shouldn't let the compact design fool you here, as the 15x optical zoom, 10-bit recording, XLR connections, 1-inch sensor, HDMI and SDI outputs, and dual SDXC recording make it a prime candidate for production studio, E&G kit, sports coverage, documentary filmmaking, and so much more. One thing we did forget to mention is the return of timecode burn-in, meaning this camera can also be used in law and legal recordings. So that's it for the Canon XF605. I'm Doug with B&H, and I'll see you next time.